Let's talk repeating realities. So I am in this situation where I'm sure Mercury retrograde is not helping the circumstance, but my communication issues, which tend to go on in Mercury retrograde, have been actually with my subconscious mind and my conscious mind. So I want to just talk to you about this for a sec. So the subconscious mind is pretty intense in its habituation. And it's funny, when your life gets to this place where everything is exactly like you wanted it, you realize like how fucked up you actually are. It's not like life in general. It's like, whoa, how can I actually sustain this happiness, or how can I sustain this thing? And that's when we move from the level of psychotherapy to coaching, where we're in that in-between phase where we're like, whoa, I've purged all of the programming, I'm aware, I can see, but now I have to actively download something new. So I just want to share something that I had to download this week for myself. My partner and I have been in conflict, and really pinpointing the conflict has been wearing the engagement ring, okay? And it's been about 4 months. And we both come from backgrounds with families that are inauthentic, where it feels one way but looks another way. So marriage for both of us is a pretty like meh kind of scenario. So why would we do it? Why would we do that, right? Why do we step into that if that's true for us? Well, that's a really interesting question, especially when we're both people who go, well, we loved each other literally, like we have the most amazing relationship. We force each other to show up. We show up for each other constantly. The day before we get engaged, we're perfect. And the day after, we start this humdrum of the marriage concept that is the undertone of our relationship at current. So we're both actively working on this. So I want to just talk about epigenetics in this sense also. I am at an age where my mother was, well, let's put it this way. I am at the phase where my mother was when my father started cheating on my mother. So I have those kinds of thoughts. Also, I'm postpartum, so I'm sure that accentuates this. But I have those kinds of thoughts going on in my head. And I'm going, oh, it's because my parents were together for this amount of time before shit hit the fan with them. And then I also have this double whammy of I am coming up on the year that I've been in 3 long-term relationships in my life. And I've ended all of them at this particular juncture, okay? And that is something to say for, I know that is a genetically inherited thing, that cycle. And I know that if I don't break, I could stay, in this relationship and have it be shitty, which is what everybody in my lineage before did. But I'm unwilling to do that, wholeheartedly unwilling. So now it's like, it's paddle really hard time to figure out how we're going to sustain this, right? And how we can take it back to the innocence that it was before we locked it into some idea of like, well, we're getting married. We're putting a cage around this somehow, which doesn't have to be what it is, but that's just where both of our minds go, which is awesome because we're on the journey together, but it definitely makes for communication and conflict. So I just want to say this. One, if you're aware of the things and the patterns, you're a million steps ahead of the game. But it's not enough to be aware of them once we're aware of them. We have to engage them. So what I did yesterday, one, my parents would have never gone for self-care. They would have thought that that was for pussies. Just like, that's not what you do. You're spoiled if you're somebody who like has the time to even care for yourself. So there's a bright red cardinal sitting right in front of me. That's great. So I went and I got a massage, and normally when I go get a massage, I take my engagement ring off, which is funny. And every time I do the dishes, which I absolutely hate doing the dishes because it reminds me of my grandmother's boxed in, terrible, oppressed life of doing the dishes, I take my ring off. So I have these 2 moments where, like, one, I'm in this subconscious, I already hate what I'm doing zone, and one where I'm like, ooh, I really love this, but this is new territory for me, so am I really allowed to like this zone? But they're both pretty much unconscious. So I went for a massage and I left my ring on. And the entirety of the massage, I said to myself, I am allowed to be a happily married woman. I am allowed to be a happily married woman. Because here's the thing. We feel like we're betraying our vibrational roots when we exceed the thing that our parents didn't exceed, or even just when we step out of those roots, it's basically like we're pulling roots that don't serve us, and that hurts, right? And it hurts the whole system, and we feel a little bit guilty for doing that because we're saying, I'm gonna like weed out what I don't want, thanks for like giving me the roots, but now it's my turn to like be the gardener. So it feels painful a little bit and disloyal to our roots to step beyond them. So when we are aware of that, we have to reprogram the body when it's relaxed so that we can write a new story. We have to become as hypnotized as we were in those moments of just watching shit go down as children. Like, whoa, I landed on this planet and this is what they do here. And we have to be aware that the stories that we wrote based on them and their stories were about them. It wasn't about our stories. So when we get into a relaxed space, we have the capacity to reprogram. If we know what the storyline is that we're already running on, we can reverse the program by getting into a relaxed state and saying a new story. So the ultimate thing for me, though, and I think that this is true for a lot of us, is we don't feel allowed. Like in my family, you weren't allowed to be happy. If you seemed too happy or too sad, they'd be like, what are you so happy about? Right? So in essence, a lot of people come to me going, I kind of have everything I want and I don't want it. I don't know how to sustain this. I don't like this is what I thought I wanted, but like this isn't the way I thought it would make me feel. And I find that it comes from that subconscious program that we are not allowed. So who am I if I betray the roots of my family by actually being a married woman in a happy circumstance? I don't know. I don't know who I am in that world. But I want to explore that potential. And the only way I'm going to be able to do that in a capable, conscious way is by being aware that my old stories are right now running the show. Like, my relationship is being run by a habit right now and not by my conscious mind. And that's simply because I put on engagement ring, okay? Which is ridiculous. That's how the subconscious mind works. And that's why as empaths we have to be so conscious of what is programming us, because we're constantly being programmed whether we're aware of it or not. And I have a program that engagement and marriage is prison. And I am in this amazing relationship with a man who, like, by all accounts and for all reasons and purposes, I would definitely want to spend the rest of my life with. Does that mean I have to marry him? No. But I want to know myself as a woman who is allowed to be in that situation. So I want to reprogram that. So all of that to say, be aware of what your storylines are. And when you are habitually running on some pattern that you're like, oh, this is like an old pattern, it's coming up again, and I'm facing it again. And sometimes it will throw itself really hard in your face. When that comes, be aware of the pattern, but then relax the body and encode or download consciously while your body is in a relaxed space the new pattern that you want to have. All right, bye guys.